Hi everyone's Guardy Moes back again with another episode of the Moes on Mike podcast. Today we're going to be speaking to Shoaib Sohail, who a lot of people would call one of the very few moderate Pakistani Muslims to come out and candidly speak up against the actions of the Pakistani community in Britain. In this episode, we're going to dive into Shoaib's background, his story, and his knowledge of the Pakistani Muslim community in the UK. We're also going to discuss parts of the grooming gang scandal, the two-tier policing we see on a daily basis, and the pedestalisation and pontificating of Islam within various institutional and societal circles in this country. Enjoy the episode. Okay, everyone. So we got Shoaib Sohail onto the Moes on Mike show, another episode, and we're just going to dive straight into it. So, Shoaib, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. Thank you very much for having me on. Thank you. I'm good.
That's great. Yeah, we've spoken behind the scenes, and we've we follow each other on X on social media, and your background is actually quite interesting. You're an immigrant to the country. You spent 10 plus years here in the UK, specifically in Wales, and you worked for Swansea Council. So let's first introduce you to the audience, and maybe Shoaib, you can tell us about your background and upbringing. Who are
Okay.
you and where you come from?
So, well, I'm a Pakistani. I was raised in Saudi Arabia. I never lived in Pakistan. So, I was an immigrant in Saudi Arabia, living there, grew up in Saudi Arabia, did my GCSEs there, did my A levels there. And then I moved to, well, I didn't move to, I actually came to the UK as a student on a student visa to complete my bachelor's degree. And once I was done with my bachelor's degree, where I went to Uxbridge, in Uxbridge, Brunel University in Uxbridge in London. And when I completed my bachelor's degree, I went back to Saudi Arabia, and that's when I started working in Saudi Arabia. So I was working in Saudi Arabia while I was, after completing my bachelor's degree. And while working in Saudi Arabia, I realized I wanted to do a master's degree because I just thought, and I do think that was a wrong decision for me because back in the day, I used to think, the more degrees you've got, the more knowledge you have, and somehow you will get the good jobs and everything. So that's how I used to think. But anyways, 2016, 2017, I came back to the UK again as a student to complete my master's degree, which I did it in Birmingham University. I lived in Birmingham accommodation, student accommodation for one and a half year. Completed my master's degree and MBA, and then I went back to Saudi Arabia. While working in Saudi Arabia, I made, in this amount of time that I was coming back and forth to UK, I've made a lot of friends who are from the UK, who are British, who are Welsh and Scottish. I don't have that many Irish friends because I think we didn't have any going to the university. So the friends that I made, they became friends for life. And one of my friend that I've got, the closest friend that I've got up until today, it's an English guy, Jason, and he's from London in Uxbridge where we met. So I started hearing things. So when I came back to Saudi Arabia in 2017 after completing my master's degree, I just started my life in Saudi Arabia, and in my head, I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe my future will be in Saudi Arabia because that's how I seen my parents and everybody else. So I thought maybe my future is going to be there. But then I had my white friends, white British friends, they start calling me, and one of my close friends, he's another guy from Birmingham, and he told me that he had lost his job, and I was surprised. So I asked him, how is it that you lost your job? So he said there's a woman who worked with us. She's a Muslim Pakistani, British born Pakistani, and she wears the headscarf. But she's a very lazy individual, and I know my friend. I trust him. I trust his judgment. So he said to me that this Pakistani lady, I asked her to do some work, and because she couldn't do her work, she went to HR and she said, "Oh, this is a white guy, and he's being racist towards me because I'm wearing a headscarf, and you need to do something about it." So she went on leave for 6 months. Yeah, exactly. So see, this is, and I couldn't believe it, right? When he told me that I got fired for being a racist, I like, that's unbelievable. You're my friend. Like, this guy has visited me in Pakistan, visited me in Saudi Arabia. Like, we have been to Pakistan together for like a week from London. I couldn't believe it that they said that this guy was racist. He knows me, my family, my extended family who hardly speak any English and they live in Pakistan. He knows them as well. So when they said that to me, I said, no, it has to be a joke. So that's what he explained to me, that this woman, she used her appearance, which was wearing the headscarf, as an excuse for being incompetent and pin everything on the guy because my friend is white British. So the moment they've done that, and he got fired from his thing, and I said there was an investigation. They said no, nothing. So she went on a leave for 6 months, fully paid leave because of her mental breakdown because somebody was being racist towards her. And I thought, this is unbelievable. And since then, I spoke to my father and I said, look, I love, Saudi Arabia. Yes, it's a peaceful city. And in Saudi Arabia, I've got more white British friends and European friends than I have got in the UK, because this is how I grew up. I grew up in an international area. We have people living around me was American, Australians, Europeans, Canadians. We had everything. We had white, blacks. Everybody was there. So we never had an issue. We never had an issue with other people's religion or culture or their skin color. We never seen that, right? But we know exactly where to draw the lines. People are what people are and what they are and what they represent. So, anyways, I started looking for jobs in the UK, where I got my job in Milton Keynes in 2018. Then I came to Milton Keynes, and it was around April, May time. I started working for Volkswagen Financial Services in the head office there, and I worked there up until just before COVID, when I was looking for other job opportunities, and I seen a really good job opportunity in Wales, in Swansea, and that's when I decided to move to Swansea in 2019, beginning of just before COVID, so around 2020. So I moved to Swansea and I started working various jobs. I used to work for HSBC. I used to work for Lloyd's. Always been in good financial position. So I will be HR, head of finances, and these kind of jobs that I've always had held in my previous time. So while I was working there, and obviously I was seeing these things now happening to my friends who are white British, and every time they had a problem, and when I was speaking to them, they were telling me that, what, we got called a racist. The people are calling, and I just find it really, really hard to believe, because these are the people I grew up with. So when that was going on, I moved to Swansea, and in Swansea, so see, I'm a Muslim myself, and I'm a Pakistani immigrant in the UK. And what happened with that is, I was in with a lot of Muslim people, right? I can see people from different backgrounds who are Muslim. So I know a lot of the people in Swansea, the place where I live, these are the Bengali Muslims. So this is the surrounding area that I've got. But I know a lot of Pakistani Muslims, and these are all the people who were born and raised in the UK. So they didn't come from anywhere else. Their parents, their grandparents migrated to the UK, and then they just had children, and they all grew up here. So when I used to go to the mosque, my local mosque, and I used to speak to some of the people there, and I used to ask them, what they thought about what's going on and what do they think. Everything that I was hearing from them was like, oh, you know what, white people are the racists. Oh, white people are bad. The white British people, this. And I said to them, I said, look, I'm an immigrant, right? You can tell from my accent, I'm not from here. And I never have had any issues, like absolutely zero issues. And like I said, I've been here since 2008, but I've been coming to the UK long before that, because my great uncle is married to my great aunt, who's a white British lady as well. So I've got a lot of cousins who are mixed race. Like, they're half white, they're half Pakistanis. So I said to them, I've been coming there since I was very young. I was 2-3 years old. We never have had any issues. Never had any problem from the white people. But, when you guys say the white British people are the racist, I find it really hard to believe. So the people in the mosque, the imam of the mosque, it's like a preacher, the head of the mosque, he came up to me one day and he said to me, look, I've been hearing a lot of things that you've been talking about, and I don't think it is right for you to say these things. I said, why not? They said, because if you're a good Muslim, right? If you're a good Muslim, you will stand with us. I said, yeah, I can be a good Muslim, but at the same time, I don't need to be blind. I can see. I have a brain that I can think from. So you're not going to tell me or dictate my life according to your experiences, and you expect me to just follow with you. I said, I'm not going to do that. And then, yeah, that was it. And I remember I was working for the Swansea Council very recently. And then I was coming out of the Swansea Council. I've seen a pro-Palestinian march. And I just came out from my work, and, they usually hang about outside the council. And I'm a brown man, a Pakistani brown man. I came out, and these people are looking at me, and they were like, oh, you know what, actually, he's maybe coming in to join us. But for me, growing up in Saudi Arabia, we never have had these things where you do protests. I did not know. I'm 39 years old. I just turned 39 last week. I have no idea what is a protest and why people protest, because in Saudi Arabia, you're not allowed to protest. There is no such thing. So I grew up in Saudi Arabia. For us, if the king tell you this is the law, you need to follow it, you follow it. Because if you don't follow it, they ask you to, kindly pack up and just go either back to your country, or go to whatever country that you think will be the right fit for you. But if you want to live in this country, this is what you are going to follow the rules. This is how I grew up. I spent 28 years of my life in Saudi Arabia. So yeah.
Sorry, Shoaib, just keep talking, because I have to take something out the oven. But keep talking, right. I can hear you.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. So when I was
explaining about protests in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. So with the protests in Saudi Arabia, we have never seen any protests in Saudi Arabia. So as we have not seen any protests, for me, actually, it was a very new thing. So I came out of my work and I thought, you know what, actually, I'm going to have a look and I'm going to see what it is about what it is that these people are talking about. So I went up to one of the guys there, and unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because this guy was a white British, a Welshman, and he seen me and he said, "Oh, what do you think about whatever is going on here? What do you think about this?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, what's going on. So can you explain to me what's going on?" So this Welshman pointed to the other side, which was "Stop the boats." So they had a banner which says "Stop the boats," and when they say "Stop the boats," that means illegal asylum seekers that we keep. These criminals that come up, turn up on a dinghy. So these guys. So I said, okay, so what's wrong with them? They're like, "Oh, you know what? These people are racist." And I said, "Why would you call them racist? Can you tell me anything that they have said is right?" He was like, "Oh, don't you think it's wrong for them to say stop the boats? Refugees not welcome." I was like, "Well, I don't think it's wrong because I am an immigrant myself, and I have a question that I would like to ask you. When you have these people turning up on the dinghy at Dover, what do you think they're coming through? They're coming through many countries, safe countries actually. Why don't they stop to one of these safe countries and then either claim asylum legally, which there is a way. So let's say if they're coming from Syria, Jordan, or wherever they say they come from, Egypt. So when they come from, the very first base that they will get of a safe country, which will be Turkey, because Turkey is just before getting into Europe. So just before Europe, we've got Turkey, and Turkey is a very safe place to a point where I know a lot of my British friends who've actually been in Turkey last week. So I said to them, why wouldn't they stop at Turkey, go to the British embassy in Turkey, and if they are legal asylum seekers and they are running from war or whatever problem that they've got, why don't they go to the British embassy and they're giving them the paper, the proof, and then let the British embassy make a decision if they should be going into the UK or not. They save them. It saved them the problem of them saying that, "Oh, we were coming to the UK in a dinghy and we fell off and people died and all this." It's not the British people's fault that you are dying coming in the legal way. You shouldn't be coming. That's the reason why it's illegal. It's unsafe. So the moment I said that, he said, "Oh, you know what? Actually, that's wrong. You can't really claim asylum legally." I said, "No, that is absolute nonsense because I know people that I have seen." So when we used to fly from Saudi Arabia to London Heathrow, which is a 6-hour long flight, we will have people from different countries who have landed in Saudi Arabia a couple of days ago, and they went into the British Council and presented their papers. And a majority of the people that I have seen coming into the Heathrow airport as asylum seekers were all women and children. So of course, if you're women and children, you either run away from an abuse you're getting from your family members, or you were a Muslim, then you decided to become an ex-Muslim, or you just decided to be a Christian or whatnot, whatever it was, and you have a proper problem from the Muslim community. They might try and kill you because you've decided now you don't want to be a Muslim and you don't want to cover yourself up and all that. So when these people used to come in, so we will land at Heathrow Airport and they will stop the plane, and there will be an announcement made by the pilot, and he will tell us nobody moves because we have got immigration and police officers coming into the plane, and we will sit there and we'll watch. So the police officer will come in, they will have the seat number, they will know how many people they're picking up, and they will then say these are the asylum seekers. They will get them up and they will be out of the plane before we even reach the gate where we need to disembark. So we'll do this. So I know because I've seen this. But unfortunately, if you've got people who live in the UK who've never been to these places like Middle East or Pakistan or India or Bangladesh, so they wouldn't see these things happening in real life. So they will take whatever they've been told either on the media or by, obviously, left-wing media is very popular, like BBC and ITV and all of these places. All they do is they push the agenda that, oh, there is no legal route for you to come to the UK. You have to do it illegally, which is absolute nonsense. So the moment I said that, no, actually, I have actually seen it, and this is how it works. So if you really want asylum and you are somebody who deserves asylum, for me, I have this opinion. Obviously, I don't want people getting butthurt about this, but my opinion is, if you're a man, you should not be allowed to claim asylum anywhere in the world. The only people, in my opinion, that should be allowed to claim asylum are women and children, and that's it, right? That's it, point blank. I don't see anywhere, and especially what we are seeing now, illegal people that are turning up on the dinghy, they're all men. They're all men. They can claim they're 13, 14, 15. I have seen them time and time again. They're all men, and they all are well above the age of 20, 25. They look a lot older. But then again, that's a debate for different times. So anyways, I said this to that gentleman there, the Welsh guy, and he literally looked at me, and all of a sudden, all I see, he started calling people to surround him. And then I was surrounded by at least 10 people there. Majority of them, all of them were the pro-Pally lunatics, and they start calling me racist. They start taking pictures of me. They start filming me. They start calling me a fascist. They start calling me a brown Nazi as well. A brown Nazi. I don't know if you've heard that before, but that's what I was called, a brown Nazi. So they called me a brown Nazi, and then I was like, okay, and what do you want me to do? Like, I don't get offended. They were expecting me to kick off or start getting offended. I don't get offended. Like, nothing offends me. Like, I've got really thick skin. I grew up in Saudi Arabia. I've been called all sort of names, man. And you know, when people say there is racism in the UK, I laugh at them. I say, you know what, this is not racism. If you want to see real racism, go live in the Middle East and you will see the real racism. But anyways, for me, I don't believe there is racism in the UK. I don't care what anybody say, but this is my opinion, and I believe there is no racism. There is discrimination, yes, but racism, no, not really. Anyways, I went to the other side then, where all the so-called white racist, fascist people were, the stop the boat people. I turned up to them, even though I'm a brown immigrant. None of them was hostile towards me. Literally, they were asking me questions, but they were very, very polite, very welcoming, because they wanted to see what is it that I was about. Why was I there? They did a lot of interviews with me, and I told them my opinion. I told them where I stand, and then the people on the left side, they start calling me coconut. And for me, I was laughing. I was like, it's fine. Call me names, I don't care. But then the people on the right side, so the so-called racist white people, actually went to the police and they said, you know what, this guy was called coconut by them lot, so you need to start arresting them, because this is racism and that is not right. And I said to them, I said, you know what, guys, it's fine. Let them say. No, they were like, no, it is not fine. We don't think it's right, because the left are the champion of free speech. They are the one who said, oh yeah, we know what, everybody else is racist. If you don't believe in our views, you're racist. But yeah, so that's what happened. And that's where I got introduced to a lot of people. So then I went home and I started looking up online. I started seeing things. So then one man kept flagging up on my searches was Tommy Robinson. And I was like, I knew of him, and obviously what I knew of him, that he is the EDL leader, and he's he's like the KKK of UK. So that's what I've heard, right? So, and I don't like to hear things and follow them. I like to do my own research. So I thought, you know what, actually, I'll do my own research and I have a look. So when I started doing my own research, there was a September the 13th, Unite the Kingdom rally. Tommy Robinson was hosting, and that is back in 2024. So that's what he was doing. He was hosting that rally. And that was the day when he got in prison as well. A day before he went to jail. They took him to jail. So he was in there. But before that day, I went to Luton Airport. I was picking my friends up from there. And Tommy Robinson was arriving in London at that time as well. So I've seen him. I went up to him and I actually had a chat with him. So when I was having my chat with him, I literally openly asked him, I said to him, look, what do you think about me? And he was like, what do you mean about you? Like, who are you? You know, that's what he asked me. I said, no, I'm an immigrant and I'm a Pakistani and I'm a Muslim. What do you think about me? He said to me, are you legal or illegal? I said, I'm legal. I came here through Heathrow. I've got my visa. I'm on a, I work full time. And that time I had a job at the Swansea Council. He said, I've got no problem with you. Why would you even ask me this stupid question? I said, well, you know what, actually, this is what people have told me, that you're a racist. And if you see me somewhere, you probably deport me yourself. And he was like, no, obviously we are against all legal, illegal, people coming into the country. But the thing is, the problem is, even if you are legal, but you are a criminal, yeah, you should be deported. And I said, well, I agree with that. Right? That's how we live in Saudi Arabia. If you live in Saudi Arabia as a legal immigrant, but then you commit a crime, you don't go to jail. There is no procedure for that. They literally put you in a plane in 24 hours and you're gone. And if you say, oh, I've got house there, I need to pack up, they say, no. Everything that you have in Saudi Arabia was given to you because of the kindness of the government. They're giving you a job. From that job, you have earned money, and from that money, you've bought all these things. But because you're committing crime in our country, right, as an immigrant, guess what? You're not going to take nothing. They put them in the plane and they send them back to Pakistan or wherever they come from. So this is what they do, and I've seen this happen. So yes, I was like, yeah, I agree with that, and this is my, this has always been my opinion since growing up, because this is exactly what I've seen. So, anyways, I came back from the September 3rd rally and a 13th rally in 2024, and I decided to make an X account because I didn't have an X account back then. So I made up an X account, and all I did was observe and report. So what I observed when I was in the United Kingdom rally of Tommy Robinson, all I said, I came out and I said, look, guys, I've been to this rally as an immigrant. I don't think there was a problem. All the white people that people are saying they're racist who follow Tommy Robinson, they're not racist. They're just concerned about their country. They're really, really concerned about the Pakistani rapist man. And obviously this thing got flagged up because I said Pakistani rapist man as a Pakistani myself. So I said, it's a Pakistani rapist man that we've got a huge problem with. It's not only the problem that you've got in the UK. You've got the Pakistani rapist man problem in Saudi Arabia, in Dubai. Like if you want to say the white people are racist, then you should probably start calling the Arabs racist and the Indians, the racist, everybody's a racist then, because guess what? Everybody got a problem with the Pakistani. So I think if you sit down and take accountability, we can see that there is a problem with the Pakistani Muslim men of raping. Yeah, I know in the UK it's white women and children, but unfortunately, the Pakistani rapist men, they have this problem throughout the world, like everywhere around the globe. And I'm not saying it's all of them, right? The problem that I've got, yes, there are, well, I won't say they're the majority. Yes, there are quite a bit big in number. But the problem that I've got, then there are people who are not raping the kids. But what they do, they try and hide these rapists from the authorities, or they'll be the family members, they could be the wife, the sons, the daughters, the uncles and aunties, and all of these things. They will try and hide it. They'll try and protect the Pakistani rapist men, and this is the problem I think we've got. But anyways, I'll come to that in a minute. But with this, I put out this post. I went back to work on a Monday. I remember getting a call. So I went back to work on a Monday. On Wednesday, in the Swansea Council, there were two police officers. They turned up to the Swansea Council on a Wednesday, a following Wednesday, and they said, "Oh, we are here looking for a racist named Shoaib." So this is what they said, right? These are the two police officers turning up to my workplace. I'm a legal citizen. They know where I live. You just need to go to the database and you can find it. But anyways, they turn up to my workplace. They created a big scene. I was working from home at that time, but I was in a meeting, so I didn't know. So they did all that, and nobody told me up until Friday when I spoke to my boss. So my boss spoke to me on a Friday, and she was like, "Oh, there were police officers looking for you. They came to your workplace." And I said, "Surely if they came to my workplace looking for me, they would have got in touch with me. If they didn't find me in my workplace, they must have come to my house." Nothing. 3 days gone, none of the police officers turned up. So I was like, that was wrong, because then if it wasn't urgent enough for you to look for me, if you didn't find me in one place, that means you could have just gave me a call, or you could have just done something else rather than turning up to my workplace. But obviously, this is now this is where the whole situation in UK starts from. So what it was the Muslims, the imams turned up to the police station, and they said, "We know where he lives, but what we would like you to do as a police officer, we would like you to go to his workplace," right? Because this is what the left and these Muslims, and I won't call them the left, it is the Muslim community, this is what they're known for doing. They will find out where you work, they will turn up to your workplace, and then they will say he's a racist, you need to fire him from his job. This is what they try to attack you on your livelihood. They try to attack you financially. This is what they are, this is what they are known for doing. So at that time, I wasn't sure about that, but then they turn up. But I had a security guard in the Swansea Council, who was a good friend of mine, he still is. And he told me, he said, "Look, there were two police officers on Wednesday, they were looking for you." And I said to them, "Okay, I'm going to go to the police station." So I hired a lawyer, and I went to the police station on a Saturday. And that was back in October 2024. We are in March 2026. And up until now, they have refused to give me the name of those two police officers, because them two police officers was the reason why I lost my job. Because then I got called in by my boss, and they said to me that you need to delete your YouTube account, you need to delete your X account. And I didn't have many followers. I had like 100, 200 followers. Yes, my post was seen by more than 10, 20,000 people, and I had like a lot of likes and shares and all of these things, and being a brown immigrant, because that's what I started off by saying. As a brown Pakistani Muslim immigrant in the UK, I don't think these people are racist. Absolutely not. So my boss asked me to delete my X account, to delete my YouTube. Again, in YouTube, I didn't have anything. I probably had like 30 followers on YouTube, 30 people, and they were my friends, family members. And I used to do stupid videos, like fixing a light bulb or doing some stupid skit. That's what I used to do. But that's what they came back with. They said, "Oh, we want you to delete all these things." And I said, "No, I'm not going to do that." I said, why would I do that? Then they start throwing these things at me. Or it's to do with the act. It was I think something Act 2010. It was, I can't remember the thing, but that's what they said to me, that it was 2010 Act 2010. And according to that, you need to abide by the laws and rules and regulation of the workplace. And I said, this is what I said to them. I said to them, "Okay, that's fine. I will do that. I don't mind. I will delete my X account, because now that you're throwing the book at me saying that, oh, because you're not abiding by the rules of the workplace, right? And I said, for that, I don't want to lose my job. I will delete everything." But the problem that I had with them is, then I said to them, "I will delete that. If you ask the counselors who lead the pro-Pali hateful march every week, if you ask the social workers who are out protesting against who are out protesting with the pro-Palis and calling every single white person a Nazi, a racist, a fascist, just because they don't agree with their views. These are your council workers. And I said, if you ask them to do the same thing that you're asking me to do, if they delete their accounts, I'll delete mine. And don't forget that these are the people who have got followings of 20, 30, 40,000 people on their X account. These are the people who got close to 50,000 followers on their YouTube account where they sit every day. And these are your counselor. These are your head of Swansea Council. So if they are allowed to do that, surely I'm allowed to just put out a post where I just said, and it wasn't a political post. All it was just saying that, you know what, I did not feel that these people were racist. The white people that I've been with, that I've seen, that I've interviewed, that I've spoken with, I just don't think they're racist. And I said, I will delete that. I literally agreed to that. I said, I will do that. As soon as they do it, I'll do it as well. And I said, you should be worried about them people, but you are telling a code of conduct. Yes, it was called code of conduct. That's what it was called. I said, you're asking me to follow the code of conduct, which I will. I'm telling you, I will follow it. But if these guys are following it, they said, no. They said, no, we are asking you to follow it. And I said, so it is because my views are different to theirs. My views are not coming out and saying that all white people are racist, while as your counselors go out every week and they say, oh, if you're not a pro-Pally lunatic, then you're a racist. So this is what it was. They said, yeah, this is what it, and I honestly did not believe that they will fire me. Well, no, they did. I was getting up, going out of the room, and she asked me one last time, are you going to delete it? What are you going to do? I said, I'm not going to delete it. And as soon as I walked out of the room, I got a call from the boss, and she said, there was no HR, nobody present, right? They said to me, you need to return your council badge. You need to return your laptop because they gave me a laptop. And what you would need to do then, we are firing you starting effectively now. And I said, can you do that? She said, yeah, I've just done it. You need to bring us everything back within half an hour, because if you don't do that, then we will be raising a complaint against you. And obviously, I had no need to hold these things off. So I came back, returned her the badge, returned her the laptop. Everything was fine. And then I left. In my head, I'm thinking, you know what? I've always had a good job, so I'm not going to have a problem finding a new job. And unfortunately, that was back in October 2024. And up until now, Moes, I still don't have a job. I have been blacklisted throughout Swansea. And the day I lost my job is the day when I move into my new house, which is this house that I'm in. And for me to now move anywhere, and I'm sure you know this, it's a very hard job to find a place to move into, like, a comfortable place. And I've lived in Swansea for such a long time, for 5-6 years now. I don't feel like that I want to move just because, these lefties are, or these Muslim communities a bit butthurt that I say things that I say. So I thought I'll find a new job. I couldn't find a new job. And because I am a legal citizen, I don't get any benefits, which is fine. I'm sure you have seen the email by now, which I've sent it to you, where I myself in 2022 or 2023, I've sent an email to the Home Office where I told them specifically, I said, look, you know what? I don't want nothing to do with the benefit system. Just take me off the list. Take this email as a proof of a statement from me, a signed statement that I don't want nothing to do with your state benefits. That's the email that I've sent. And I'm sure I don't know if you've seen that email I've sent. So yeah. So that's the email.
Yeah. You sent all the information to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's terrifying to see that, your example, your story is a perfect example of just the state of the UK. I mean, I've asked you about your background and upbringing. You spent like a third of this episode just fleshing everything out. So thanks for talking and leaving me to listen to your story. I don't have to do as much talking now. But I actually noted everything down, your time you spent in Saudi Arabia, GCSE and A levels. So you and I actually kind of have a similar background, even though we were born on opposite sides of the planet. You took your GCSEs in an international school in Saudi Arabia. I was actually born and raised in Hong Kong.
Oh, nice.
And I went to an international school. I call it a British school, to be honest, because it's, we take our GCSEs, we follow the British school curriculum. And, I was educated all my life in English. And so,
Same.
You've come to the UK, I've come to the UK, and we've kind of followed the tailwinds of leftism throughout our education system. I throughout my life, I actually noticed this leftism creeping into the education system. First, when it started, it was through feminism, and now it's ramped up to racism. And I think you and I can agree, like, these kinds of issues, we notice them. A lot of people actually in the current education system, people aren't stupid. Young people notice these problems and these kinds of indoctrination, propagandistic elements popping up in the school system, but we can't properly articulate it. So from the stuff that you were talking about in your story and your background, you notice these things, but you can't actually articulate what the hell is going on. But obviously you've explained your background, your career, and you work for banks in HSBC and Lloyd's. You worked in Milton Keynes, then you moved to Swansea. you're a Pakistani Muslim immigrant in the UK, and your dealings, especially with the Swansea Council, was particularly nefarious. I did want to extend our conversation towards Swansea Council because their level of two-tier treatment towards its employees is just shocking, and your story is a perfect example of that. Because the problem with leftism is that, look, it is within human nature to find something to hate on, to disagree and to distance yourself from. And currently with neo-Marxist modernism is to use white people as a scapegoat. You know, everyone, all of these people who claim that white people are racist, they're using them as a scapegoat because they're the ones who have caused harm historically. You know, the British Empire and all these Western empires, reparations need to be demanded. It is the straight white male that is at the top of the agenda for them to topple because they want to break down society. This is the way that they operate. This is their modus operandi, to tear down everything that has come from white people. And that's why they call you racist as well, because you stand behind the white people. You're, as you say, they label you as a coconut. You're brown on the outside, but white on the inside. You're evil on the inside. You stand up for rapism, folks. That's what I call them.
Yes.
When you advocate for stopping the boats and stopping refugee and asylum seekers. But we're going to talk about the immigration problem later. But specifically in regards to Swansea Council, like, this is the problem that I'm always trying to explain to people. Leftism, the tentacles of neo-Marxist leftism has creeped into every facet of society in the West, not just in the UK, but in the US and Canada, especially Canada as well. It's in our education system. It's within the law, the judicial system. It's within workplaces. It's within the mainstream media. It's being fed to you 24/7. It's everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And the treatment from Swansea Council that you were referencing is to do with the Equalities Act 2010. I think that's what you were trying to reference. The Equalities Act 2010, that no person should be discriminated on the grounds of religion, race, any kind of identity. So that's what they were accusing you of violating the code of conduct within your workplace and making violations towards the Equalities Act 2010. So we'll bring up the I can't bring the image onto the stream, but I'll read it out for people so that they understand what's going on.
Do you want me to bring it out on my screen? I'm sure I can bring it up on the screen here.
Okay, yeah, if you could try the ones that you sent on WhatsApp. Try bringing it on. Not sure if...
Give me just 1 second. I think I'm sure I've got it here somewhere.
Yeah, take your time. I'll just edit it.
Yeah, I've got it here. All right. Hopefully works.
Okay, yeah, add to stage.
Yeah, there we go.
Right. So what's going on here? Who's sending this email?
Okay, so I send this email. You can see on the top, it says Shoaib Sohail. And I was sending it to in-country post-decision Sheffield. So this was basically my decision for my from the Home Office decision when they, when I go through the extension of my visa. So this is what it was. But because at that time, and this is back in February 2023, so almost like 3 years ago now. So it's February 2023, almost 3 years ago I did it. And it was before all of this was going on. So what it was that I was seeing people turning up to the UK, which were these fake asylum seekers. And all I was seeing that there was a burden on the UK's economy, obviously, with these people turning up who are not an asset to the country, but a liability. Because they turn up here, they haven't worked a day in their life, but then they require a lot of things like, housing them, doing their application. Obviously, when they submit their asylum application, then there will be people who will be doing their application. And these are the workers from the Home Office. They need to get paid. So, they are taken from the country, but they don't give in. So me as an immigrant, I thought it was my duty. And I don't think I have ever seen or ever heard of any immigrant doing what I've done. So this was obviously, you can see the email reads, "To whom it may concern, I hope you are doing well." So this is me sending an email to the post-decision Sheffield. So this is the Home Office. And this is obviously just to explain, my bank details and all of these. So that's why I have to just get my home address and everything. So because in the first few lines, you need to give them you need to tell them like a proof it's you. So like, it's the what do you call it? The Data Protection Act and all this. So you need to like list everything down. So after doing all that, this is what I wrote to them. I said to them, and this is the last paragraph you can see. And that is, it reads, I would also like to bring it to your attention that I will be willing and happy to sign a contract with the Home Office that I will not claim any state benefits for the next 5 years. I want to be an asset to the country and work and pay my taxes as I have been doing since 2018. I can write a statement, sign it, and send it to the Home Office as proof of my consent for not claiming any state benefits for the next 5 years. If this helped my case, please, thank you. So, like, this is what I said to the Home Office. Believe it or not, that was back in February 2023, and up until now, I've never received a response from them. They have not sent me a response. They have not.
Yeah, because they're the ones who offered you the benefits, government state benefits, because they want to see you as a victim. They see you as the
but see, I can't claim benefits. So, being legally in the country, right? I can't claim benefits. So I do pay my taxes, like I said in this email, that I've been paying my taxes since 2018. But there is obviously a condition on my visa. The only condition on my visa, which I even up until now that I've got, it says that you are not allowed to claim any state benefits if you're on that visa. And I'm still on that visa. So I don't claim any benefits anyway. But this was to do when when you receive your ILR, indefinite leave to remain in the UK to become a British citizen. This is what it was for. I said, even if I do become a British citizen.
I have no idea about that, because I have a British passport. I've had a British passport.
No, because you grew up in Hong Kong, and I think Hong Kong does come under the British Empire, right? So when you grew up in Hong Kong, were you given a British passport when you were in Hong Kong?
Okay, my identity and my background, it deserves an entire episode on its own. It's very complicated. But I was born with a British passport because my dad applied for it under an act back in 1950 1980.
You're not the only one. The reason why I asked this, because I've got some other friends who grew up in Hong Kong, and they're all British, and they probably went to the same school as yours, a British school. And I know I said international school, but yes, it was a British school because the whole curriculum was the British. We would just follow the Cambridge and Oxford, and we did the GCSEs. We said, and we used to do it. So that's what it was. So this was just to let them know, after receiving my ILR, I don't want indefinite leave to remain. I don't want to do nothing with the benefit system, because I know a lot of the people that I have seen, the moment they get ILR, the first thing they want to do is jump on benefits. So they will show that they've got some mental breakdown and this and that and the other. And then they'll be like, yeah, because of that, we can't do a job anymore, so we need the benefits. And a lot of them do feel entitled, saying that, oh yeah, because we have worked 5 years in the UK, so I think we just deserve the money back that we put in. But unfortunately, once they go down that route of getting the free money, relying on benefit system, for them it just become a habit. So I just didn't want to be one of them. And like I said, in 2023, I've seen so many people just using that as an excuse. So I thought, from my end, I'll do that. But yeah, going back to obviously Swansea Council, which I think should be the main topic, and the reason why I say that, because is the Swansea Council is the reason why I cannot find a job in Swansea now. So Swansea is a small town; it's like a village, but it's a city, but it is like a village. So everybody now in Swansea knows me as the racist, because I was arrested by the South Wales police on the orders of the imam of the local mosque, one of the imams of the local mosque. And they put me in jail for 15 hours in custody, and they took my phone off me. And that was, again, like I said, it's going back in January 2025. They took my phone off me. They took a lot of other devices off me, and they put me through that system for one whole year, where they just kept investigating me. Every 3 months I have to go answer my bail. They made my life hell. They made my life miserable. And I think this is what the people say, the process is the punishment. And the reason why I know it was one of the imams of the Swansea Mosque, because when I got my bail sheet, his name was on it. And the worst thing was that I was not allowed to speak about that this imam, because they said you will be breaking your bail conditions. So that's why you should not be talking about that. And I said, okay, I won't do that. But the day when they did my interview and they brought forward all the evidence that they had against me of being racist, so I was arrested on the charges of being a racist towards the Muslim community, while I am a Muslim myself. So I don't know how did that work, but that's what they said. So when I went into the interview with my lawyer present there, the proof that they were showing it to me is the same proof that was showed to me by the Swansea Council. So this is where I'm coming now. So when you said in the beginning, so you've got the judiciary, the justice system, the police system, the leftists, they're all working together. So this is how I know, and I've got proof that they all work together, because when the imam came to me in the mosque and he said to me that, oh, you know what, you need to stop all of this, because this is what you're saying. So the things that he was showing me, the screenshot that he had, was the same screenshot that was showed to me by my Swansea council before I got fired, and they were the same screenshot that was showed to me by the South Wales police. So it was the same thing, and it all started by these imam, by the Muslim community. So when people say, oh yeah, you know what, actually, yeah, the Muslim community is fine, it's okay to have Muslim MPs in the parliament, I say no, because of this reason. If they are not okay for a guy like me who is from the community, who can actually tell people that exactly what it is that these people are getting up to, right? If they are not going to be good towards me, can you imagine if there is somebody who is not an immigrant, who is not brown, who is, let's talk about a white British male, like you just said, a white British male or female, whichever one. If they were to, and we've seen it now, Lucy Conley, we had Wayne O'Rourke, we had Peter Lynch, who died in the prison. And all of these things are the same thing. Oh, because you said something about the Muslims, you said something about the asylum seekers, these illegal criminal, monsters, you've said something, and that's why you need to go to jail. And these people actually been to jail. And I was very scared because my case came forward after Lucy Conley and Wayne O'Rourke, and obviously after the Peter Lynch death. I was very scared. I'm 39. I've never been to prison. I have had no dealings whatsoever with the police or the justice system because I'm a law-abiding citizen. I don't have as much as a speeding ticket. So this is how much I follow the rule. I have never had a wrong parking, a bad parking, any fines, any penalties, because I follow the rules to the T. Because I live in this country, and that's how I grew up in Saudi Arabia.
Exactly.
See, and that's the thing. Yeah.
And do as the Romans do. That's the saying. When
exactly.
In Rome, do as the Romans do.
Abide by the country's law. That's exactly what you need to do. And like I said, this is what we grew up in Saudi Arabia, because I knew my father used to beat us up. He used to tell us, if you don't follow the rules of this country, guess what? Before the law come to you, I'm going to beat you up. And he used to do it. I'm so proud of it. I'm so happy that he used to do that, because he kept us in line. And that's why we had an amazing life in Saudi Arabia. And that's why I've always had an amazing life. And I still have an amazing life in the UK. Like I said, I know there are a lot of problems going on. For me, I haven't had a job. Like, I've lost everything. So in 10 years, I used to have 3 cars. I own 3 cars. I used to have numerous
You've
watches.
Got a Union Jack on some of them as well.
Exactly, man. This is how much I love. This is how much I love the UK. My cars always have had the Union Jack when I lived in the UK. That it had the Welsh flag when I lived since I've been living in Wales. And my whole house is filled with the Union Jack and the Welsh flags, and I've always been patriotic towards the country, and I still am, even though these leftists have put me through, the justice system have put me through. But unfortunately, in the last year, I had to sell all my cars. I had to sell all my watches, like everything that I owned and earned and had savings and everything in the last 10 years. It's all gone. If you look at, I've got zero. I've got nothing left. Like, literally, not only I've got nothing left, because I had to get lawyers and everything else, I had to use credit cards, and I'm not even able to pay anything back either. So, I've gone from a successful poster boy immigrant to an unsuccessful in debt and everything that is wrong for the immigrants these days. But unfortunately, I can't blame the white people. I can't blame the British people. It is literally the Muslim community. I cannot literally blame anybody else, because this is my problem is with the Muslim community. Zero accountability, right? The Pakistanis and the Bengalis more than anybody else. Then now you've got the Afghans, I don't want to swear on your channel, man. I know it's YouTube and all that, but these Afghans, these wild, these absolute, oh man, I just hate them so much with a passion. And the reason why I've got hate towards them, because they got zero accountability. So since I've been doing this, I never have had any death threats from the white British people or the black or anybody. The only people they've given me death threats are the Muslim community. These are the Bengalis, these Afghanis, these Pakistanis. It's just them 3 people, right? Not even the Indians. Even Indians won't do anything. Like, the thing is, I have had a lot of support from the white British people, from the Indians, obviously from people like you. There are some other people as well. They have been very supportive. Like, in the movement, in the right side of the movement, you've got Based and Bougie, you've got Baraka. These guys have always been there, support me. I don't see any Pakistanis. I do get messages from the Pakistanis telling me, oh, that, what, you're doing an amazing job, well done, keep it up. And I said, yeah, you say that, but where is it? Why is it that you're not standing with me? Why is it that you're not coming out and saying what I'm doing? Because you need to see I've lost everything. I have literally lost everything. I lost my livelihood. I have lost my comfort zone that I had. I've got nothing left. So yeah, I've lost everything. So why don't you guys come out? Maybe it might help me get a job, because right now, I'm sure that's another email that I've sent to you, and that is from the Swansea Council. And that was the email where they have said it very openly and very clearly that you will not get a job because of your views, because of your political views. So that is them not only telling me but actually confirming that this is what we do with anybody and everybody who do not follow the views that we have. If you're not a pro pally, if you're not a pro pally lunatic, this is it. You can't get a job. And that is another email that I've sent to you. I'm sure you've. I don't know if
Yeah,
you've got
yeah.
that email as well.
I kind of wanted to transition the conversation into the topics
Yeah,
that
yeah,
I've listed because you've talked about the problem with the Muslim community
yeah,
in the UK, because this is the problem. Like, there are so few of these moderate Muslims or cultural Muslims who refuse to speak out. I'm not talking about women and children, but like the men,
yeah,
Muslim men. If you know that members of your own community have done something wrong, they've covered things up, brushing things on the carpet, they know about the grooming gangs and this and that, and or they perpetrate the crimes themselves, why aren't they speaking up against their own communities and calling people out? Where are you in these protests? Like, I say the same thing with Hong Kong people. Under Boris Johnson, he signed some kind of agreement with Hong Kong saying that, Hong Kongers who were being persecuted for the treatment from the CCP. It's very complicated, but the treatment from
yeah.
the Chinese Communist Party during the Yellow Umbrella protests, they could seek refuge and sanctuary in the UK because of their British imperial past. But now that Starmer has rolled out the red carpet for China and allows for China to set up like some kind of mega
Yeah.
Chinese embassy in the middle of London next to data cables, where are the committed, passionate Hong Kongers who support liberalism, freedom of speech, and universal suffrage? Where are you coming out up in arms, protesting against this madness? The whole authoritarianism of the UK, that it's turned into this totalitarian state. Why aren't you speaking up about this? Absolute cowards. And the same thing you're referencing about the Muslim community. These people are either losers, they're cowards, or they're complicit with the
Yeah,
crimes that are committed by mostly Pakistani Muslims towards white working class girls.
that's correct. Yeah.
So I really wanted to I want you to clarify to the viewers, like, where do you stand on Islam? You say that you're a Pakistani Muslim immigrant.
Yeah.
I see you as a kind of a cultural Muslim rather than a fundamentalist Quranic Muslim. Like, do
Yeah.
you, what kind of, like, when you say you're Muslim, like, what do you mean by that, Shoaib?
See,
Explain to
for,
us.
yeah. So what I mean by that is, like, obviously I do believe in God, and obviously God. When you believe in God, you can be a Muslim, you can be a Christian, whichever people who believe in God, like a religious person, I would say. But religious person is in a I would say in a way that yes, I am very progressive, and you can say I'm a cultural as well, because according to the Muslim who follow the book, or these hateful lunatics who say, oh, if you're a Christian, if these people are Christian, they cannot be our friends because they got a different God and they got different beliefs and all that. So according to them, they won't call me Muslim. They've been telling me that I'm an ex-Muslim. But for me, these things doesn't matter as well, because for me, I've always believed that my religion is just between me and my God. Yeah, it's a different thing if I came up here to talk to you today and say, oh, you know what, my name is Shoaib, the Muslim Shoaib. If that was the thing, I get it. And I would have asked you, oh, can you accommodate me in a certain way? Can you not say these things because I'm a Muslim? I'm going to get offended because of my religion. I don't do that. So for me, these things are irrelevant. Like, I will never ask you what's your religion. I wouldn't tell you my religion, or this is what I'm doing these days. Like, none of these things. So these things will never ever be in a conversation for me. So I've never, and this is, like I said, this is the reason why it's very hard for me to explain this. And maybe it might be easy. I don't know if you'll understand this or not. But when we were growing up in Saudi Arabia, right? And tell me if you don't understand anything, just ask me a question and I will be more than happy to answer. So when we were growing up in Saudi Arabia, like I said we went to an international school, but it was a British school. But while going to this international school, as I told you before, we have had friends who are Christians. We have had friends who are Hindus, who are atheists, we grew up with different kind of people. So for us, we were friends as human beings. It was never the conversation never came up. Oh, I'm a Muslim. Oh, I'm a Christian. I don't know. Like, a lot of my friends probably doesn't know, and I don't know. I have friends for 30 years now because we grew up together in Saudi Arabia. I don't even know if they were Christians or atheists. I don't know, because we never asked, right? But the problem that we have in the UK, the reason why this is coming up so much in the UK, that you have to ask, are you a good Muslim? Are you a bad Muslim? Are you a progressive Muslim, a cultural Muslim? Which one is it? Which one is it? Because, we need to, and I understand your point of view, and I do understand the majority of the people they're feeling in the UK when they said, oh, what kind of Muslim are you? Because you know what? it is the Muslim. In reality, it is the Muslim that is the biggest threat to the UK right now. So I understand it, I get it, and I see that, because it is the Muslim now creating problems everywhere. Crying racism to everything, bringing this fake definition of Islamophobia, which again, it shouldn't be. These are the things I never thought that I would be talking about in the UK. I always believed living in the UK would have always been that if you're a good human being, right, regardless of your religion, culture, or wherever you come from, if you're a good human being, that's how I've always believed that you should be treated, and you should treat others as well. And that's what I've done. That's why I said, like, this is. I don't think it's hard for me to explain, but it might be very hard for somebody who have not lived in Saudi Arabia to understand. And they might say, "Oh, then why would you call yourself a Muslim?" Again, it's just between me and my God. Like I said, I know plenty of Muslim who go out, who drink, who do like literally everything, smoke and this and that. But then if I look at them, they are actually some of the very best human beings that I've met. But for me to say, "Oh, just because they are bad Muslims, I'm not going to be friends with them," I've never done that. So I don't care if somebody drinks or smoke or do whatever the hell they want to do, as long as they are decent, good human beings. And being a good human being is irrelevant to your religion. You can have an amazing Christian, and you can have a really bad Christian. And the same, you can have a good Hindu, you can have a bad Hindu, you can have a good Jew, you can have a bad Jew. So these are the things that you have. But for me, I always see
Okay,
people
I'm gonna have to. I did want to push back against that, because like there
Yeah.
are correlations.
Yeah,
So,
of course.
you say that there's a good or bad Muslims. Let's
Yeah.
just say there are in the UK.
They're all bad
chance that
Muslims.
the chance that you encounter a good Muslim, let's just say, is less likely than that of a bad
Well,
Muslim.
no,
I know
let's not say less likely. I'll be honest with you. To encounter a good Muslim, the only time you'll be encountering a good Muslim if you see someone like me walking towards you. If you don't see someone like me walking towards you, and if someone else is a Muslim, highly
Yeah, that's
likely
true,
they
that's
are going to
true,
be really,
yeah.
really bad. I'm sorry. And the reason why I'm using my example, because I'm the only one right now on screens and everywhere as a man. We're talking about man. Obviously, I know there are one or two other
Yeah,
Muslim women.
Nuria Khan
Yeah,
and
Nuria
Rukma.
is
I
an
know.
ex-Muslim. She's
Yeah,
a
I
good
know.
friend of mine as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Okay, by the way, Nuria grew up in Saudi Arabia as well, in Jeddah, same city as mine, right? Went to international
She
school.
went to an international school.
Yeah, exactly. So Nuria, she's an ex-Muslim. I'm talking about a Muslim, because when you said good or bad Muslim, and this is the problem that I had. The reason why I did what I'm doing right now, because you are absolutely right in saying that when you are encountered by a Muslim, the first thing you're like, oh my God, am I going to say something wrong that is going to be Islamophobia? And because the police is working so closely with the Muslim community, there's a very good chance, if you even not offending any Muslim, just because they don't like what you say. And let's say if it's a customer service, right? Let's do that, right? Let's do that. Imagine you work in a customer service, a Muslim named Muhammad calls you and they say, hey, Moes, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And you can say, yeah, I can help you with this, but I'm sorry, sir. Sorry, Mr. Muhammad, your warranty has run off. So I can't help you because your warranty is gone. So this Muslim man can very easily turn around and say, oh, well, you're doing this because I'm a Muslim. Is that what it is? You've heard the name Muhammad and now you want to play up with me. But the reality is, this is what the Muslims are doing these days. Any single thing that you talk to them about, anything you do, anything you say, oh, is it because I'm a Muslim? Is it because? So yes, you're right. I am tired, man. I am
They pull the
absolutely tired.
victim card. They
Yeah,
pull the
yeah. This
victim
is all
card,
they do. So yes, you're right. When you say, "Oh, no, man," it's not majority. It's all of them. When I walk, can you imagine? Okay, can you imagine you walked into a shop and you see a guy working there named Muhammad, looking like a Pakistani? Do you look at them and be like, "Oh my God, yes, I'm gonna have the best customer service. I'm gonna have the best people"? No. When I see them, I'm like, "Oh my God, where the fuck am I?
No.
Why the hell do I turn up?" I would rather have a white guy, right? Working
Exactly.
there.
I do as well.
I would not deal
Because
with
this is pattern recognition. I observe that. I
yeah.
live in Wiltshire. It's
You
one
see?
of the
Oh
most
well, okay.
whitest,
Then when
predominantly
I
whitest
walk,
areas in the world. In
yeah.
the
So
UK.
now,
And
in
everyone's
Swansea,
nice around here.
yeah, I know
And
exactly.
you're in
So
Swansea as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
when in
Welsh
Swansea
people
now,
are lovely.
when I go to Tesco's now, right? And this is a reality what I'm dealing with, right? When I walked into Swansea, because I'm the only one brown guy who does what I do. As soon as I walked in, all the Bengalis there, they will take on my picture where I'm wearing the shirt where it says White History Month, and I was at Dover and I was telling people, oh, you know what? If you come here legally or illegally, if you break
Yeah.
the rules, you need to get deported. That was a big interview I did on Dover, and they will be showing it to each other, to the people who don't know. Now everybody knows me there, so and they won't treat me right. They'll be in a mood, but because this is the only big Tesco that I go to here, I've got no other option but to go there. But then I have to deal with this shit. Like, this is a nonsense that I need to deal with. But unfortunately, this is where we are. So yes, if I walked into a place where I see majority of white people, I am relaxed. I'm comfortable. I don't need to worry about anything. I am fine walking in there. But the moment I walked into a restaurant, which unfortunately a lot of the food chains are run by the Pakistanis, the Bengalis, and these
Yeah,
Muslims. So, and
yeah.
even the delivery, the delivery drivers, I don't want to give them my name as well because I'm worried they might know me and they'll be like, because Swansea is small place, and they might mess up my order, they might take my food. I don't know. They can do anything. So this is the level.
Yeah, and
I
this is
don't
the
trust them.
exactly. This is the nature of the Muslim community. They operate like a cult. You know, you mess with one person, you mess with all
Yeah,
10,
but do you
20,
know why?
50 of them.
Yeah, exactly. But do you know why? Because the police in this country, the British justice system in this country, is letting them do whatever they want to do. I have
Oh
seen
yeah, they're
videos.
complicit.
Yeah.
They've surrendered to the Muslim community.
Do you know I had
It's called
counterterrorism?
suicidal empathy. That's what
Yeah,
it's called.
exactly. No, but do you know I had counterterrorism police turn up to my house and they literally sat me down on my couch and said to me, "Oh, why is it that you say Pakistani rapist gang? What about the white rapist gang?" And I was like, "What
I've
do you
seen the
mean?"
video. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've seen the
yeah, man.
video.
It's just
Yeah,
it's just
it's
crazy.
unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. I'm even surprised you're still in living in Wales at this point.
Yeah, man. You know what the thing is? They can do whatever the hell they want to do. It unfortunately, like I said, look, I don't call myself British. I'm a British citizen. Yes, now I'm a British citizen. But what I have adopted in the few years that I've been living in the UK is the British backbone. That's what I've got, and I think that's the reason why I'm still here. If it was anything else, man, I'm not gonna lie. I probably would have packed up by now. I would have said, you know what, actually, leave this. I don't want to go to jail. It's getting too much for me. Let me pack up and let me just leave. Let me go back to Saudi Arabia. Let me find a job in Dubai. I've got the education. I've got the knowledge. I've got the experience. I can, or maybe I can try and go to America. So there are a lot of places that people are actually. I know a lot of the people that I personally know. They have left the country for
Yeah.
America, Australia. They've gone.
Oh
They've
yeah,
gone to
yeah.
Saudi Arabia.
Brilliant.
They've gone. So I would have done that. But then again, my friends and I don't know if a lot of your viewers know this, but my wife is a white Welsh woman from the valleys, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I can do that, right? I can take my wife with me, no problem. And but what about her family? What about the other white people who this is their home? Where do they go? Like, when this question come to my head, what about these people, which is their home? They cannot just pack up and leave because this is all they've known. For me, it's different because I'm an international guy. I live in Saudi Arabia. I live in the UK. I've been everywhere. Like, it's easy for me to adjust my life if I were to go somewhere. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
But there are people who've got family ties, who've got family members, who've got kids, who've got. It's a long thing. So it's not everybody can always pack up and leave. And therefore I understand when you've got these white people and they said, "Oh, you know what? If you are not white, right? How do we believe that you're not just going to pack up and leave because you do have, like, you've got ties in Hong Kong. I've got ties in Saudi
No,
Arabia.
to correct you, I don't have any
Okay, good.
ties with Hong Kong.
My
Sorry.
bad, sorry.
Yeah.
But like
No,
for me,
I
my
don't.
parents are still in Saudi Arabia. Like, so they get a bit uneasy, and a lot of the Pakistanis, they are all dual nationals. For me, I couldn't
Oh
wait to
yeah.
destroy my Pakistani passport. I burned my Pakistani passport. This is what I did. When I became a British citizen, I burned my Pakistani passport. I got nothing to do with that thing. I never lived in
Same.
Pakistan.
Yeah, my Hong Kong identity card, I lost
Exactly.
it. I
It's nothing.
intentionally just buried it somewhere. I
Yeah.
completely lost it.
So
I
yeah,
don't know where it is.
this is the problem that we have now. So for me, the reason why I thought I'll tell you all this background and just touch upon a few things with the Swansea Council and everything, because this is the problem that we are having, and unfortunately, the people on the right are not getting this. See, we've got such a big problem right now, such a huge problem right now from the left, that they are working all of them together. Like, you've got the Muslims working with the LGBTQ community. I don't know how that works. If I be honest with you,
Well, that's
right?
Iran. Like the UK is turning into Iran back in the
Yeah,
1980s. This is a
yeah.
coalition between the left and the Islamists, but it results in, obviously, it doesn't have produce good fruit because, as we all know, in Iran, I mean, they killed off the communists and the
Yeah,
Islamists took power. But yeah, I wanted to bring it kind of retro, like take a
yeah,
retreat a few steps and take it back to our identities and our background, our upbringing in international schools. Because I asked you, like, when you say you're Muslim, what do you mean? And
yeah,
you've fleshed out like your kind of you fostered. Let's just say you were nurtured in an environment where you respected your fellow human being, and
yeah,
that's the exact same kind of background that I was raised in. I was raised in an international school, in a British school. Like, we never sorted each other out in terms of race, religion, color, or culture. Like, I had white friends, I had ginger friends, I had a Muslim Indian friend. I couldn't tell who was Muslim, who was Indian.
yeah,
You're this particular race, you're such and such. I never saw people as group identities, and we saw each other like that. We just saw each other as human beings. Like back in primary school, I remember a lot of the girls that I never really had interest in girls, but girls had interest in me because obviously I'm fucking dashingly handsome. But a lot of the girls were white. You know, white girls took an interest in me, and we went out on dates and stuff, and it was just natural. It's organic. Like there was nothing forced during my school years. We weren't forced to separate amongst ourselves in terms of religion and race and color. And it started creeping up in secondary school when we kind of separated ourselves. It wasn't really forced, but it was just naturally occurring. We kind of matured in a way, like we recognize that there's certain kind of cultural norms that white people and white English people of Christian background they follow, and the Asian people follow, Hong Kong people follow, the Indians follow, and we kind of naturally just saw each ourselves amongst each other and separated ourselves. Um, but then it was through the education system, I think that's when leftism creeped in. It's when the stuff that we were taught, I was taught that the British Empire was bad, that they genocided the Indian people back during, colonial times, and the stuff that they did to South African blacks. And it was all just like all of this demonization towards white people just started creeping up. But at the time, I couldn't articulate it for you. If you asked me like 15 years ago, what was that all about? I couldn't explain it to you because I didn't understand. It was just me as a pre-18 teenager, just absorbing all the information that I was taking in. And it was when I turned 16 or 18, that's when I started to notice there was something fundamentally wrong with Western civilization, particularly in America. This leftist indoctrination is coming out of American university academia. This is being pumped out of this completely just false propagandistic drivel that white people are bad, white people are racist. There's in some and this is how that kind of terminologies like white supremacy and unconscious bias, they pop up. It's as if like white people are inherently racist, and if you're a white person, you're racist and you never knew that you were
But
racist in the first place. This is how it all
when
pops up.
no, but
It's
when
identity politics.
well, when I grew up, in Saudi Arabia, we were never told these things. What we were told was the good things about the British and the American people. All we were told, and that's what I'm telling you. So see, that's the thing. There's a huge difference the way a lot of people grow up in the West, in the UK, and how we grew up in Saudi Arabia. Believe it or not, I had a lot of my family members who went to Oxford and who went to Cambridge in London, and I'm talking about back in the 1960s and 70s and the 80s when I wasn't even born back then. So when I was growing up, I used to see a lot of my even my grandfather as well, who passed away now. So he also used to say these things as well about the British people. He always used to say to me that, oh, you know what? If you want to have the best justice system, right? You look at the British justice system. If you want to have the best police officers, you look at the Scotland Yard. And if you want to have the best human beings, you look at the British people. And for me, again, like I said, I grew up in Saudi Arabia. This was another thing because I have a lot of cousins who lived in the UK, who were born and raised in the UK, and when they used to come to Saudi Arabia to visit us on holidays, and they couldn't speak Urdu properly, but I speak Arabic, Urdu, and a little bit of English. So I would try and speak to them in English. And when I speak to them, so this thing will come up that, oh, we'll say, oh, we're a Pakistani living in Saudi Arabia. And my cousins would used to say, oh, we are British. And we used to laugh at them and say, no, you're not British, you're Pakistani. But this is, like I said, this is how we grew up. Like for me, if you were born in Saudi Arabia, the Arabs were very straightforward with it. They said, just because you're born in Saudi Arabia, it neither makes you an Arab nor a Saudi. So you'd always be a Pakistani who was born in Saudi Arabia. And for us, this is what it was. Like for us, this is how we've seen. And the same way, if you were born in Pakistan, you will still be from your background. You won't become a Pakistani, would you? So this is the mentality that we had. And like we used to have arguments about this. And like I said, we were young. We were like 15, 16 when we used to have arguments with my cousin, because my cousin would come up. And if somebody were to ask us that, oh, where are you guys from? We say, oh, Pakistan. And my cousin would be like, oh, I'm British. And we'd be like, no, you're not. You're a Pakistani. So this is obviously, again, this is the way we grew up. And that's what I said. We never had that problem with identity. So if you were to ask me, if you were to ask me before I came to the UK, who do you think are the British people? I would say the white people. If you were to ask me, who do you think are the Europeans or the Americans? I would say, yeah, the white people. And then if you said to me, oh, what about your uncles and cousins and all of that? And I say, yeah, they're Pakistanis. So what, they live in the UK for 50 years or so what if they were, or their grandparents were born in the UK? But like I said, this is my mentality. This is how I grew up. Obviously, you can't change the whole thing because I lived in Saudi Arabia for 28 years. And this is the reason why I am the way I am. And you see the majority of the Pakistani in the UK are different because of the indoctrination that they have been through. I haven't. In Saudi Arabia, we grew up respecting each other. So, when we as Muslims, we had Ramadan, then we had Eid, which is like the Muslim Christmas. So all our colleagues that were working with us, if they were Christians, they were Hindus, so they would work on the days when we had Eid. The same way, we would work on the days when they have Christmas, they have Easter, they had New Year's, when they had these things. So this is what we do. We work for each other, and that's how it's like a car. When you have 4 tires, and 4 tires have to work individually to do something, because even if one of the tires is gone, it's popped off. You got 3 tires for a 4-tire car, the car's not going to go anywhere. At the end of the day, even you can try to move it, you can push it because your 1 tire is gone, but you can still try and push it. But by the time you get to your destination, the tire that has gone off, the whole wheel is just ruined. You've ruined the whole car. It's done. It's finished. So this is how I grew up. We respected the culture, not because we had to respect on the books. No, we actually did it by showing our actions. So let's say if I had a birthday, my mother's birthday is on the 25th of December. So if I want to take a day off and I go to my boss and I say, hey boss, I need 25th of December off, they will say no. They will say, no, this is the time for your Christian brother and sister to take the days off because it is their celebration day. You cannot tell me that, it's a birthday. They will say, no, we don't want to hear it, right? You need to be there like they were there for you on the days of Eid. So I'm sure a lot of the Muslim who don't pray, and I think they would like to pray the Friday prayer, right? The Friday prayer. So in Saudi Arabia, we used to have Thursday, Friday off. Then now recently, is Friday, Saturday off. So the Friday, Saturday off, on Fridays, you will have all the Christians and all the people who don't go to the Friday mosque will be working. And for us, we will be working on a Sunday. So on Sundays, anybody who's Christian or who have that, they will be off on Sunday. We never had a problem. We never said, oh my God, why is this? No. But this is how it works. It's like in the UK, it's Monday to Friday you work, Saturday, Sundays off. Like it's a universal thing. But in Saudi Arabia, it was different. For Muslim, it was Friday, Saturday. For Christians or anybody who want to do anything on a Sunday, like, a lot of the Christians, they pray on a Sunday. For them, it was Saturday and Sunday. So while they were off on Sundays, we will be working on Sundays. And while we were off on Fridays, they'll be working on Fridays. So I grew up like this for 28 years of my life. So we never had an issue. I never, like you just said, I couldn't tell a difference between who was a Christian, who was an atheist, who believed in who didn't believe in it. These things never come up. But unfortunately, in the UK, this has become a fashion. When you go to any workplace, you get a little bit of, and I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about the Muslims. Yeah, I'm purely talking about Muslim because this is what I've seen in every workplace that I've worked in. Every single time a Muslim worker was there, little bit of inconvenience. Is it because I'm a Muslim? Or is it because I'm wearing a headscarf? Is it because I dress like? Yes. Oh, well, you know what? Actually, yes. If you're wearing a full-on burqa, I can't see your face. Yes, it's a problem. And it's a problem for me, and I'm a Muslim. I lived in Saudi Arabia where you couldn't tell a difference between your mom and someone else's mom because they're all fully covered. They used to be up until 2018. So I grew up like this. And even I had a problem when I turned up to a thing. And they said, and I'm sure you've heard when the Muslim women are saying, we cover ourselves up to get no attention. What are you talking about? You turn up to a beach, fully covered, head to toe, in that black garbage bag. Of course, you're going to get all the attention because everybody like, what the hell is that? So the more you say, we don't want attention, or we don't want attention, but then you do things that you do get attention because you're not you're not assimilating, you're not integrating. All you do is, I have turned up here where there are 99.99% of the people are Christian. They dress up a certain way, they do certain things. But you turn up here, you're gonna cover head to toe, and then you want to use the religion. Then why turn up here? Why are you here? Please tell me. Why are you making my life miserable and hard? Because when I look at that, I'm like, no, I don't want to see that, and I'm a Muslim, right? And I say I don't want to see that. So I can only imagine what people like you or people who actually have now started to hate the Muslims, the Islam, and all that. And I don't blame anybody. I don't blame. People say, there has been an attack on the Muslim people, and I said, and what? You guys been doing this. You guys been turning up to the Christian markets with your Quran, playing loud Quran and everything. And now you got a problem after 30, 40 years of the British people have been tolerant towards you. And now you've got a problem after 40, 50 years of you trying to intimidate the British people, try to intimidate the Christian people, and going out. Even now, when I go to Central, I was in Central London last week for my birthday. I came out to Trafalgar Square, and all I could hear was loud crime playing. And I went to the guy and I said, "Why would you do that?" I said, "I came out. I don't want to hear this shit. I don't want to hear it. Why would you do that?" And he said, "Oh, you better move. You better move." And I was like, "Yeah, of course." And they come in packs. You can't reason with them. You can't talk to them. Then they call the police on you, call you a racist. And I was like, "You know what? I've already been jailed once. I don't want to do it again." And I just walked off. But how long will people just walk off? How long will people say, "Oh, yeah, it's okay"? No, I don't think it's okay. I never believe this is okay. This is absolutely, and the problem that we just spoken about, it is the police. If I go to the police and I
Yeah.
say, "You know what? Please ask them not to play this loud music because this is sound pollution. It's too loud. I don't want to hear it." Why would I? The same way, I wouldn't want to hear your music. You wouldn't want to hear my music. And you know, when you're in the car and people playing loud music, I don't even like that as well. It's sound pollution. If you want to listen to something, do it within your own capacity, where other people cannot hear it. Like, you know, when you are too loud and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, but this is the problem. This proliferation of, like, irritating people, especially coming from the Muslim community. It's not actually
Yeah,
the Muslims that should be the scapegoat. I don't really blame the Muslim community. I'm actually blaming on the British people themselves and the establishment. Everyone who's orchestrating this is coming from the top. The
yeah,
establishment, the police, the media. They allow for this to happen. There's this certain tension in the air in the UK, especially within cities, where people just they're basically, Starmer is right, Enoch Powell is right. We are living in an island full of strangers. We don't
yeah,
recognize each other. Nobody wants to assimilate into British values. Even the British people themselves um are kind of sick of it, but then they still harbor this self-hatred for their own culture, for their own people. Even the white British people, there's a lot of them. They're If they're not lefties, they're normies, and they don't really care about all of this stuff, which is a
yeah,
big problem as well.
yeah,
And this whole atomization of British society, this is what is the most concerning, and that's why I decided to move out of London. When I came here in London in 2018, I took up a job in hospitality and I worked my way up. But I was so sick of London because it's so multicultural, and this is the problem with multicultural cities and societies. They're even more racist.
yeah,
When people, I'm sure like you were in Milton Keynes for a while. I'm sure
yeah,
people have turned up to you and just asked you, like, just straight out of the blue, where are you from? Like, I get that question quite a
yeah,
lot in
yeah,
cities,
yeah,
right? Well, they make assumptions about, are you Chinese, are you Japanese, are you Indian, or Pakistani, or whatever.
yeah,
Like, and I just think, like, I never ask people, where are you from?
yeah,
Like, that's not the first sentence I ask people. Like, I don't care, because I've been raised in the background where I just treat human beings as human beings. I don't
yeah,
care whether you're white, English, brown. I judge you based on your character, not on your immutable traits. As I said, like, growing up in an international school background, we didn't care about that stuff. And so when people ask me, like, where are you from? Like, I kind of find a way to avoid the subject, because it's kind of uncomfortable for me, because, like,
I don't mind.
I'm born and raised in Hong Kong, but then I have to explain
Yeah,
and go down the rabbit hole saying I'm from a British school and I spoke English all my life. That's the only language I speak. And they sort of look at me with this weird expression. And, like, being from Hong Kong is a very complicated identity, because, like, they some people immediately assume that you're from China, which is not
no,
true, because you have to educate yourself uh into the separation, the difference between Hong Kong and China. The culture is completely 180 degrees,
yeah.
because
I don't
Hong Kong
mind.
was part of the British
People have
Empire.
asked me that where you from, as in, like, I just tell them I'm Pakistani. Like, I know, I never go into that thing because where I am
Yeah,
from, like, heritage wise, I'm
you can't blame people for forming
yeah.
assumptions or stereotypes,
I
because
don't mind, to be
stereotypes
honest.
don't
Yeah,
come out of nowhere.
yeah,
But I get why people have this hostility towards each other right
yeah,
now, because, like, stereotypes, as I said, they don't come out of nowhere, and people notice that there are patterns in behavior. Pattern recognition is a thing. When you dress, as you said, when you dress up in a full face burqa on a beach, you can't expect people to not look at you with a weird,
exactly.
strange expression, because,
Yeah,
like, don't rely on progressive modernism to be on your side, because
yeah,
people will notice. Even the people who aren't into politics, aren't into these topics, they they aren't immune to stereotyping.
yeah,
People just this is human nature. We observe things. We make
This is a
observations.
reality. Like you're right, it is a human nature. Like I said, I was once traveling in a bus in London. I was going in an express with one of my friends. My friend is white, so and I was in university back then. This is going back in 2009, 2010, and I remember it was July. It was really really hot, and me and my friend we were just wearing a t-shirt and shorts. As we were going in a bus towards somewhere, there was a guy who got on the bus at the next stop, and he was a Muslim guy wearing the hat, the Muslim cap, and what he was, he had a jacket on and he had a bag on him. But this is, and I am a Muslim, right? I literally stopped the bus and I got off, and my friend was like, "What the hell are you doing, man? We need to go. We need to go half an hour longer in the bus. What are you doing?" I said, "No, no, get off, get off." And I was panicking. I said, "I want you to get off." And then I explained to you because he was a white English guy. He's a friend of mine. We got off. We got off the bus, and he asked me what it was. I said, "Do you not see that guy? That guy is 50 degrees. He's wearing a jacket and he had this big bag, and he was a Muslim guy." And he said, "And what?" And you know what? I thought he's gonna, he's gonna blow. But this is how I think. And I grew up in Saudi Arabia. We even in Saudi Arabia knew what to look for. But unfortunately, in the UK, if you look at something, and even just because you want to be safe and you want to be like, actually, I don't want to travel with this guy because the way he's dressed up and the way he's doing in a 50 degrees, I don't want to do that. And for that, I'm gonna take the other bus or take the other thing. You will be called a racist. But because it was me doing it, my friend didn't even notice it. He was like, "Oh man, why would you say that?" I said,
They
"No."
can't.
I
They
said, "I
can't
don't."
call you out.
Yeah,
They
and
don't.
but
They haven't
he's a
got
friend
any
of mine.
ammunition to fire
Yeah,
at you. Yeah.
but unfortunately now I feel like now there is so this is my problem with the Islamophobia definition, right? So Islamophobia, when they say, "Oh, we'll bring in," well, I think Islamophobia is already introduced
Oh yeah.
in the
Well,
parliament. It's already
they
is there.
call it anti-Muslim hostility.
So I'll tell you
Yeah.
what, they're calling it anti-Muslim hostility. Do you know within Muslims there are so many sects within Muslims? So I'm
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got Sunni Muslims, you've got Shia Muslim. Imagine a Sunni Muslim does not agree with the Shia Muslim, or Shia Muslim doesn't agree with Sunni Muslim. Guess what? They'll be calling police on each other then. It's because according to both of the sect, it is anti-Islamic because what they believe in, what the Sunni will believe in, the Shia won't believe in that. So they both now have a problem. And what my problem with Islamophobia is, because I know Islamophobia is a fake word that has been invented by the Brotherhood, the Muslim Brotherhood, which is again a prescribed organization throughout the Middle East. And unfortunately, in the UK, they run wild. They've got charities, they've got offices.
Yeah.
They are openly an organization, and they're like, "Yeah, we do what we want to do." And these are the people who have introduced this Islamophobia word. So, like I said, so the reason why I believe the Islamophobia word has been introduced is to stop people like me, because for people like you or anybody who's not a Muslim, it's racism. Islamophobia never needed to come in, but when you have people like me speaking up against what I know is wrong within the religion, within the culture, within the Muslims, when I'm talking about these things, they can't call me a racist because it's not going to take them any far. They might be able to lock me up for a day or two, but then how far will they take it? Because it does not make sense. When it comes down to the CPS, when it comes down to actual jury trials, they'll be like, you're crazy. You're telling a man who is actually a Muslim, and he openly says he's an immigrant, he's brown, he's a Pakistani. How is he a racist towards his own community? Like, that doesn't work. So for people like me, there is Islamophobia. So what they're trying to do, they're trying to literally break down anybody coming out and speaking against this Muslim Brotherhood. So when I
Yeah.
speak against Muslim
Absolutely.
Brotherhood, it's not going to be racism. It's not going to be fascist. It's not going to be Nazi. They're going to be like, "Yeah, that is Islamophobia. He's being Islamophobic towards us because we are a little bit different than him. So on that basis, you need to go and arrest him." And guess what? I will be getting arrested on that. Right? So people are not, when people are so busy bickering in these small little things, "Oh, let's make another political group on the right, let's have another party on the right, let's do this, let's do that." When they are busy doing this, right, they're not getting the bigger picture, because the bigger picture right now is lefties getting in the parliament. And like you said, and you know this because obviously your research is really good, and you know what's going to happen. The lefty is going to get in, while all the white people are getting all the white people, either you're on the right or on the left, right? The only thing that's happening to the white British people right now, man or woman, they're all being imprisoned. They're all being imprisoned on some bogus charges. The lefties will go because they attack the rights. The rights will go because they're supposedly racist. And who are left then? It's the Muslim. It's the Muslims are left on top places. And then what's going to happen? England is not going to be England. UK is not going to be UK. What is going to be is going to be a hellhole, like anywhere else. So if you have seen any place that has been taken over by a person of color, it has become a shithole, right? This is what it is. I'm sorry, but this is what it is. for me, and this is my opinion. I know people like it, they don't like it. I don't care. But for me, when I grew up, the good things that we have seen, the amazing things that has been invented, is always been invented by the white people. Everything
Yes,
that I have
yes.
seen, everything that I have been through, like according to the books, according to my own experiences, the justice that I have seen is always done by the white people. Like, it was, if it was up to the browns, if it was up to the blacks, if it was up to the people of color, they will literally kill each other literally within a day, and nobody will be left on earth. So for me, I've always said the problem that the Pakistanis and these Mirpuris, especially the Mirpuris, the Pakistanis that you've got in the UK, they're from Mirpuri, and the Bengali, they're inferior people, and you are putting these inferior people with the superior race, which is the white British race, superior race, and then you put in them together. Of course, it's going to be a conflict because these inferior people, they're trying to match with the white British people, and they can't match them. It's not in their DNA. It's not in our DNA to match them. And like I said, this is me telling you from my own perspective, from my own opinion. And then obviously the only thing that will get them up is these DEI hires. It will get them with the racism. Oh, this is racist. That's the only way they can go up. And if you look at London, look who's the mayor of London, Sadiq Khan. He's a brown man. Look what he's done to London. Look at Birmingham. Look at anywhere where you have seen
Thanks,
people of
Khan.
color.
Thanks
Yeah,
for destroying London.
yeah,
Really
exactly.
much
But that's what I'm saying.
appreciated.
Anywhere
Lovely.
these people of color has taken over, this is exactly what has happened. So I'm not surprised. Like, it's a fear of me as well to think that in few years time we will have Muslims running majority of the countries. I wouldn't want to be here. I did not come here.
Yeah, I completely understand. I
Yeah,
wouldn't even want to be in this country if the demographic change just shifts
yeah.
entirely
But see,
towards the
that's the
side of
thing.
ethnic
And now
minority.
look,
I
Mose,
need
that's
to be in the
that's the thing.
minority. You need to be in the minority. People don't
Yeah,
understand.
yeah. No, but
We
that's
are
what I'm
all
telling you. That's the difference. Like you and me just said, oh, we can pack up and leave. Oh, I don't want to be here. What about the white people? This is their home. Where do they go?
exactly. We have more
Exactly. This is
sanity
my
than
point.
most of the people who stand behind this nonsense. And
Yeah,
it's you and I maybe I can title this as the video title. Even the immigrants are sick of the immigrants.
yeah.
Even
It's
I speak
true.
to some people, immigrant people as well. The immigrants are sick of mass migration as well. They're seeing the atomization of society and all of this pandering towards Islam, pontificating about the virtues of the Prophet Muhammad, you know,
Yeah,
um, and obviously King Charles, Sarah Mulali, and Keir Starmer, they can attend as many Eids and Ramadan ceremonies as much as they want and festivities, but
yeah,
they don't understand. They're trying to keep a lid shut tight on a pot of water, boiling water that has already bubbled over. Like
yeah,
you don't understand. And these politicians that this just demonstrates the complete disconnect between the establishment, parliament, and the people. They
yeah,
don't understand how Islam works. They don't understand how taqiyya is
yeah.
orchestrated. And so then obviously Keir Starmer was trying to bend over towards the Muslims, and that's why he's attended those uh,
He hosted the
Muslim
party that he
festivities,
have
and
hosted.
he's trying to admit that he hasn't sided with Iran in the IRGC.
Yeah,
Well, he's siding with the IRGC just to prove that I'm on your side and you're not my enemy. But he doesn't understand. Like there is no solution to this other than wiping out Islam, like removing it from the
yeah,
UK. This is a Christian country, but
yeah.
they
It is
just
exactly that's
I
it.
believe that I don't think they're actually like evil, but they're just stupid and completely like absolute cowards. They don't understand the nefariousness of these kinds of ideologies. So we just have to wait and see. But but obviously coming towards the end of the
Yeah,
episode, like what do you the video? What do you think about the current political climate? Like, are you obviously you're in Wales and
yeah,
there's a Senedd elections coming up in May.
yeah.
Which party will you be voting for, and which party do you currently support? Like
So
we've
when
got
I've
Restore
been,
Britain and Advance UK and
yeah,
Reform.
yeah. So when I've always been a member of Advance UK since the beginning, Advance UK, and obviously I used to be, well, I'm not used to be, I still am supporting Restore Britain. Before it was a political movement, I supported them as the thing that they were, like they were back then when they were a movement, not a political party. So I because there was some really good things that Rupert Lowe was doing in regards to the Pakistani rapist grooming gang inquiry that was going on. So I supported that, and I became a member back then, and I'm still a member for that. For political party, I'm still an advanced UK member, but unfortunately, what is happening in Wales, that we've got election in 2 months' time. Advanced UK is not ready. They don't have good candidates. There's nothing. There's a lot of
No, I
in-house
agree.
problems.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
agree.
there are a lot of in-house problems that they are facing right now with Advanced UK. So for me, obviously, I need to be realistic. So for me, my loyalty, as I'm sure you can tell by now, is towards the country. I am with the country. I am with. So to save the country right now, to save Wales right now, it has to be Reform UK. So I am a member of Advance UK. I do support Restore Britain as a movement, and when it does become a political party, I probably will support them as well. But right now, I am also a member of Reform. So the reason why I'm doing Reform, because in my area, the place where I'm living in Swansea, we only have Lib Dems, again lefties. We have got Labour, and we only got Reform. There is no Advance UK. Nobody knows who Advance UK is. People, yes, know about Restore Britain, but again, there's nobody from Restore Britain standing in Swansea. If there was, even if there was anybody from Advance UK which I could trust and I can put my vote behind, I would have done it. But I feel like a time has come where vote needs to be counted, and it's not me saying that, oh, I support one political party. I am going to be voting for reform, but will I be voting for reform in general election? 100% no. That's going to be a no. They have to do something really, really. I don't know. They have to do some magic.
Just in case people think that you're a reformer, that you've
No, no, I'm not.
sold
No, no,
out
yeah.
to
No, no,
reform.
I'm not a reformer.
You're a Nigel Farage fanboy.
No, I'm not. Actually, I'm not. Like I said,
But no,
and that's the thing.
because what you're explaining is that elections in Wales is completely different. People don't
It's different.
understand what is happening in Wales. Like elections
And most,
election processes is different. It's not
it's
the
not about
same.
only the election process. Do you know what the problem is with me right now? The reason why I've been trying, I did try my best to get Advanced UK. Like, from my channel, on my YouTube channel, I did interviews, I did a lot of things. I went out on the street telling people about Advanced UK, did the leafleting, I've done all of that, right? But the problem is there was a problem within the administration team, or whatever it was. I was not into it, right?
Yeah.
I was just one of the members. So there was a lot of things going on. People then started attacking each other, higher ups coming out and attacking each other. So that did not look good. And I think people were like, this is a party run by naive people who don't know what they're doing. They're just like in there for the fame and all that, which is, I know, which is not true, right? But that's exactly what we have had in Wales. And look, most, who else can tell you that the importance of this Senate election better than me? Because up until we have Labour in the Swansea Council, I'm never going to get a job, right? I will never ever be able to find a job. I will never ever be able to live peacefully in Swansea while these people are in there. So for me, my aim is not to do with which party I'm supporting, which people I like. I like a lot of people, but that doesn't mean I see them fit to run for an election because they're not here. I love Ben Habib, right? Advance UK, yes, I'm a supporter of Advance UK, but guess what? Ben Habib is not running in the Senate election. I love Rupert Lowe, and guess what? Rupert Lowe is not running in the Senate election. And again, I'm not a Nigel Farage fan because Nigel Farage is not running in the Senate election. It is the local MPs that we have got from our local community. And if they are good people and they are with reform, guess what? I'm not voting the party. I'm voting for the people that I see every single day who come out, who talk to us, who do things for us, who take my problems that I've got to the parliament, right? So yes, I'm going to support them, and whichever party they represent is irrelevant, right? That is absolutely irrelevant. But fortunately or unfortunately, the party that the people that I'm seeing right now from my local community are from the reform. I don't see anybody from Restore. I don't see anybody from Advance UK. I don't see anybody other than from Reform or Lib Dems or Labour. Of course, Labour is a no-no. I don't care if you are a Labour Party member. I wouldn't even look at you. That is as simple as that. With Lib Dems, they have been very good to me as well, and I know why, because they got votes and coming up. They will turn up to my house. Obviously, they've seen my story. They will always come up. Oh, can we do anything to help? But I refuse to take their help. I don't want their help. I don't need their help because I don't trust them either. Because their message is not right either. And I'm not saying reform is the right message. It's not. It's not, not the right message as well. But that is the only message that we have got out here in Swansea right now. So
We've
yes.
got a reform shill, guys. No, I'm joking. But like, as much as it hurts me to say, but like a lot of my audience on my channel, like they don't like reform. Like we
Yeah. Oh
dislike
yeah.
reform, and I don't shy away from expressing my disappointment with Reform UK. But I will admit that there are good people within reform, especially on the local grassroots level,
Yeah.
and that's something that Welsh voters have to consider.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, this is. I think the current political climate is especially very divided on the right.
Oh yeah, it
Let's
is.
just say the right wing spectrum, but hopefully we can see a lot more momentum coming from Advance UK and Restore Britain, because we're all, as much as we like to say that Restore Britain's better, Advance UK is the party for the people. We're all the same. We all want the same thing. It's just
Yeah.
why people have to squabble on social
Well,
media,
I
on
think
X, and they try to deify Ben Habib or Rupert Lowe. I just see there's no benefit to it.
yeah,
Like, let's just all come together. So the real
exactly.
hero of the story is the one who brings everyone together. Maybe it's Tommy Robinson. Maybe it's Nick Tanconi.
Yeah.
Maybe it could be
Nick and Tony
someone
and
that.
Tony Robbins, they're both really good guys. I've met them. I've met them. I
Yeah,
have
it
conversations with
could
both of them.
be Ian Hersey Ali, or Liz Truss, even like someone
Yeah.
who, or even someone who hasn't had anything to do with politics. Eh, Anything can happen, because up until the general election, there is so much to look forward to, but also to be worried about. So we'll have
Yeah,
to
yeah.
see.
A lot to worry about than look forward to be honest. I'm more
Yeah,
worried than looking forward. But like I said, we got 2 years in general election.
same,
Obviously,
same.
we'll
I'm
see what
I'm really
happens. Yeah.
worried. I'm
Yeah.
concerned. This country isn't really serious. And the thing is, like, I know it hurts to say this and for people to listen to this. In my personal opinion, this country isn't bad enough. I know it's hard to hear, but this country hasn't been rammed down to the ground hard enough. People need to wake up and realize how much trouble this country
Yeah.
is, and it's not bad enough for people to realize. Look how many normies there are. Like you and I, if you were to go out on the streets of Wiltshire or Swansea and talk to people on the streets, talk to our neighbors about all this stuff, about Pakistani grooming guys, they think we're mad. They
Yeah.
think we're
Yeah.
conspiracy theorists and we're the ones who are going off on some kind of wacky, I don't know,
Rabbit
political
hole.
agenda, a
Yeah.
rabbit
Wacky
hole
rabbit hole.
agenda.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, this is reality, and this is yeah, people need to wake up. People just need to wake up.
I hope they
I
do.
think they I think they sense it, but there's still people. I saw your video 2 weeks ago. You went up to people asking them who would you vote for in the Senate
Yes.
election.
Yes.
Have you heard of Advance UK? And I could see this level of apathy, this energy in people. They didn't want to talk about it. They were kind of
Yes. Yes.
apathetic towards it, and kind of neglectful. Or they want to remain ignorant to it. And that's the problem with the people, the British people. They just they're like 10 steps behind waking up and actually noticing that there's a problem around them.
Yeah.
Like, why can't you get an appointment? Why can't you get a doctor's NHS appointment? Or why is your council tax increasing? Why are
Exactly.
there so many potholes? Yeah, you need to wake up and realize that there is a problem. But anyways, thanks for taking your time coming
No,
onto
no,
the
man.
channel
Thank you
to
very much
show up.
for having me on. I really appreciate it. I loved it. Enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and you have your own YouTube channel, I
Yeah,
believe.
I've got my YouTube channel. I don't know if you can see the name on it. It's the Shoaib Perspective. That's my YouTube channel. I've got X account. I've got Facebook. I can send you the link later on if you want to leave it in the description below or however it is.
Yeah, I
So yeah,
follow you on X. I'll leave all the links down in the
thank you.
description. But we'll talk about a lot of other things, because there's a lot of things in this conversation we missed. But
Yeah, I know, I know,
we could
I know.
talk for hours. Yeah, we could talk for hours, but
Yeah,
we'll
of
talk
course, yeah.
in a
And that's why I didn't
future.
want it to be like really, really long as well, because I guess like boring, then people like switch off. And you can release it in 2, 3 separate, like parts if you want to. That's like obviously it depends how you do it. Whatever way you want to do it is up to you. But yeah,
That's fine. Thank you to the viewers for watching. Stay tuned. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and Shoaib's channel as well.
thank you.
I'll see you soon, guys. I'll say goodbye to Shoaib. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Moes on White podcast. I hope you enjoyed that discussion with Shoaib we had today. I'll leave a link down in the description below to Shoaib's YouTube channel, and you can also follow him on X. Be sure to comment down below what you think of the points that we discussed in today's episode. And in case you missed my previous interview with Mark the bowler hat farmer, it's going to be somewhere over here. And you can watch my previous video, my most recent one, somewhere over here. This is Guardian Moes, powering off.